Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rules for Rebels here. This is going to be kind of a short video, but it's Sunday afternoon. I'm just responding to some YouTube comments here. And Mark McCarell said, explain to me how you pay for the product. Alibaba denies credit cards constantly and doesn't tell you why. Wire transfers are extremely expensive. PayPal isn't expected, but for a few vendors, there's no Western Union close to me. Okay, so how do you pay for things on Alibaba? Let me first start by kind of explaining how Alibaba is different from eBay, Amazon, DHgate, AliExpress, etc. So, whereas eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, DHgate, they have a shopping cart system. That means you browse products, there's a set price for items. They may offer bulk discounts, different sellers, but there's a set price. You click add it to cart or checkout immediately, you're taken to a shopping cart, you put in your credit card number, and you pay for the item. Alibaba does not have a shopping cart system, and Alibaba itself, it's not like I go buy from Alibaba. Alibaba is actually a collection of different traders and manufacturers, typically out of China, some out of India and Vietnam and other places, but it's a million different sellers, so you can almost think of it in a sense like Craigslist. So if I go to buy something on Craigslist, I'm not buying something from Craigslist. Craigslist is bringing together all these different sellers on one platform. So whereas one seller may be willing to accept PayPal for something, most sellers are going to want cash, but I mean, just for this example, whereas one seller may accept a PayPal payment for something, another seller may say, I don't want you doing a chargeback on me, it's too risky, I'm only going to take cash. If you're buying a car, somebody will oftentimes accept a cashier's check. If you're buying lawn furniture, probably not, just come with cash. Some sellers some sellers on Craigslist are actually businesses, so they're probably set up to take credit cards. They probably have Stripe or Square, and if you go pick up an item, they may let you pay by credit card. So the same way that Craigslist is a big variety of different sellers who are all going to be willing to accept different payment methods, Alibaba is the exact same way. So some sellers on Alibaba will accept PayPal. Some will accept Alipay, which is basically credit cards. Some may have their own credit card processing system and accept credit cards that way. Some may only take wire transfers. Some may only do Western Union or MoneyGram. Now, just because a seller lists their payment methods doesn't mean that they're not going to offer additional ones. So I've personally found there may be some people who only say Western Union and MoneyGram, but a lot of them, if you ask them, they will accept PayPal, at least as a first transaction to build some trust. Let's see. Mark said wire transfers are really extremely expensive. Wire transfers are actually very, very cheap in the grand scheme of things. Wire transfers could cost you anywhere from $10 to maybe as much as $50 on an international transfer, but that is a flat fee, as opposed to, let's say I'm an Alibaba seller and I'm accepting credit cards, I'm probably paying around 3% to accept credit cards. Plus, if somebody's in the US and they're paying on a Chinese merchant system, there's typically going to be a 1% international exchange fee as well. So I've personally found that even if a seller on Alibaba is willing to accept PayPal, a lot of times they're going to hit you for an extra 5% in fees to cover their fees. Now really, I believe the percentage is only 4%. It's 2.9% for PayPal, which is essentially 3%, plus a 1% international transaction fee, which comes to 3.9%. However, I think just for the hassle of taking PayPal and for the added little bit of risk and headache for taking PayPal, they're going to hit you for 5%. So if I'm buying $2,000 worth of product, 5% of that is $100. Whereas on the flip side, I could just pay a wire transfer, which would probably be, I don't know, say $20 on average. So wire transfers are actually going to be a lot cheaper than Alipay, than PayPal, than anything else, because most of these sellers are working on small margins already, so they're not going to want to also absorb credit card or PayPal costs. So you're going to get the best deal by doing a wire transfer. Wire transfer is also cheaper than Western Union. I have a couple suppliers who I pay by Western Union because there's no other method, and Western Union is typically about 2%, so that actually gets pretty costly. So wire transfers, assuming you trust the seller, are actually your friend. I do recommend using PayPal for a first transaction, or at least credit cards if at all possible. That way, if somebody does outright scam you, you can either file a PayPal claim or do a credit card chargeback. But once you build some trust with somebody, I really see no issues with doing a wire transfer. It's actually a very cost-effective way of doing this. But getting back to kind of how Alibaba is different from eBay, PayPal, Amazon, etc. On AliExpress, like there's whoever's selling those products already has them in stock. Like, they lay out all the terms, so you're going to pay by credit card because it's AliExpress. They're going to lay out all their different shipping methods there. If they offer a bulk discount, they're going to lay that out. So everything is pretty much set in stone. Now, granted, you can still negotiate with AliExpress sellers, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like a shopping cart system and everything's laid out for you. With Alibaba, on the flip side, everything is up for negotiation. So some sellers won't even list a price. Other sellers may list a range of like $1 to $5, depending on your terms and how much product you're offering. Obviously, as with anything, the more you order, you're going to get a bigger bulk discount. But yeah, with Alibaba, everything's up for negotiation. So you can ship by air, you can ship by sea. There's all different methods of shipping. You negotiate who pays the custom fees and duties. Does the seller pay that, or do you pay it? You negotiate the payment terms. Are they going to accept PayPal? Are they going to accept a wire transfer? Are they going to do credit cards? So pretty much everything is up in the air, and everything can be negotiated on Alibaba, which in some ways makes it more flexible. Although for people who are new to importing and ordering from overseas and things like that, it can make things kind of complicated and a bit intimidating as well. But again, just getting back to Mark's question, just to make sure I covered everything, explain to me how you pay for the product. Again, depending on what seller you're dealing with, they're going to offer different methods. Don't feel like just because you find a seller and they only offer Western Union, that that's the only method that they offer. A lot of sellers don't want to take PayPal, reason being buyers run scams on people and get free merchandise. They have to absorb the fees. And also, as we all know from PayPal, PayPal sometimes does rolling reserves. PayPal sometimes holds your money for 21 days. PayPal gives people gives the buyer a lot more power in terms of renegotiation. So there's really not a whole lot of advantages or benefits to a seller accepting PayPal, and that's why a lot of them don't. But a lot of times if you contact somebody and say, hey, look, I'm looking to place my first order with you, the first time around, just to build some trust, do you mind doing PayPal? A lot of them will say yes. Now, once you guys have done some business together and you build some trust, I don't really see any issue with moving over to a wire transfer. It's actually going to save you money. It's going to save them money. And at that point, you've built some trust with them. You know they're not a scammer. That's one piece of advice. Don't feel like you're locked in just because somebody lists certain payment methods. Contact them, ask them if they're willing to accept others. I'm not sure what you mean by Alibaba denies credit cards, because Alibaba doesn't even accept credit cards itself, although an Alibaba seller could accept Alipay, which accept credit cards. As far as why it's getting declined, like if somebody actually sends you an invoice and you're trying to pay it, the reason it's most likely getting declined is because it's an international transaction. So I notice a lot of times when I buy stuff either through Alipay or directly off AliExpress, I'll get a text message from my bank, and they'll say, hey, somebody tried to do a transaction for $2,300. It may even say in China or something like that. Was this you? I text back, yes, it was me. And then if I put through the transaction again, they'll allow it to go through. If your bank doesn't send out those automated messages, you may need to call your bank either prior to doing a transaction or after it's declined and say, hey, look, this is John. I'm trying to make a purchase through Alibaba right now. It's getting declined. This is me trying to make this transaction. Will you please allow it to go through? And their fraud department or whatever will unflag the transaction and allow it to go through. So if that's what you're talking about transactions getting declined, I think that's what the issue is there. And lastly, wire transfers are actually going to be one of the most cost-effective ways of sending money to a supplier. I wouldn't necessarily do it on the first transaction, but if you can do PayPal or something else where it's protected, moving forward, I see no issue with doing wire transfers. And as far as you said there's no Western Union close to you. Unless you're in a really rural area, I find that hard to believe. Like Walgreens does Western Union, Meijer does Western Union. A lot of convenience stores, gas stations, corner stores, 7-Elevens do Western Union. And also, even if you don't have any of those places near you, you can go onto westernunion.com and you can do it by credit card. They're going to charge you an extra fee. I believe you can also do it by bank transfer as well. So you can do Western Union online even if you don't have a Western Union location near you. But go on westernunion.com. I think they have a store locator where you can probably find some place close to you. And worst case scenario, if you have to, you can do a Western Union transaction online. There may be a few extra convenience fees, but overall, if you're an hour from town or from a store where you can go do it, it's probably worth the fee. So I hope that explains Alibaba payments and how to pay suppliers on Alibaba a little bit better. If you guys have any additional questions, drop them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. So thank you guys so much for watching. We got a lot of great videos coming out over the next couple days here, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.